Hey guys, Jason here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please subscribe or leave a like or a comment if you like talking about books. Today, what I'm doing is I'm gonna rank all of the Dark Tower books in the order that I like them the best. And so this is obviously very subjective. This is just my opinion. And I'm just going to talk about just the main 7 books in the series. And just a little disclaimer as well, like this is my favorite series of all time. All of these books are amazing. So even the ones on the bottom of the list, I still think are very, very good. So I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea about like the books at the bottom of the list. They're still some of my favorite books of all time. But I had to rank them. Yeah, without further ado, here we go. Number 7 is Song of Susanna. Again, this book is really good, but as far as the Dark Tower novels, it didn't resonate with me quite as much. I feel like, so the first 4 books are kind of they were very spaced out as far as like publication order, and they all have their own kind of feel. And then the last 3, I almost consider like its own trilogy, sort of. And this one is the middle book. It's kind of just like a lot of setup and exposition and like getting people where they need to be in order for the final book to kind of make sense and do what it's going to do. So yeah, like I said, not a bad book, but not my favorite Dark Tower novel. It's essential, obviously, in the series, but not on the level of some of the other ones. So Song of Susanna. The next one, number 6 on the list, is The Gunslinger. I really like this book. It's 6th on this list because there's a lot of weird language and things that you probably won't understand, and it sets up a lot of stuff that doesn't pay off until later in the series. So for that reason, it's pretty low on this list, but it's very good, and obviously it's essential. Like I said, it almost feels like an introduction. Like it's very short compared to the other novels in the series, and it almost feels like just like prologue to the actual story. Like once you get into the later novels is when the story actually begins. This is just sort of setting up the main character and setting up a couple of the other side characters. So, The Gunslinger, number 6. Number 5 is The Wastelands. This is an amazing book. The main reason that this is as far down on the list as it is the ending. I really didn't like that the ending kind of stopped. It ended in the middle of like the main confrontation that I felt like the whole book was kind of leading towards, and then it ended, and then it didn't resolve that main conflict until the beginning of the next book, which whatever, it's fine. It just was a little jarring that it just ended the way that it did, and in fact, the beginning of book 4, Wizard and Glass, actually is basically just the last 10 or 15 or 20 pages of this just in there. So it was like, I don't know. I don't know what Stephen King's method is. I don't know how he decides when a book is finished, but it just felt unfinished. So, but other than that, this book is freaking awesome. Like the whole thing is great. This is when they really start to move towards the tower, and it's a fantastic novel. All right, number 4 is The Wolves of the Kala. This is the 5th book in the series. This book is very, very good. It's a lot of setup. It goes, 3/4 of this book is talking about and preparing for what is going to happen at the end. But there's this, it creates this sense of like, this sense of urgency that they have, where they have to like, they're on a deadline and they have to prepare. I also love that this book is so heavily inspired by Seven Samurai. I think it's awesome where these like 7 people come into town to protect them from an invading force. This is where you really start to get into the deep connections with the rest of the Stephen King multiverse. This is where Stephen King as a character is introduced, and we really start to see his influence on the story as a whole. With Father Callahan from Salem's Lot is in this, and yeah, it just this is where it all starts to really come together, and it's fantastic. All right, number 3, The Drawing of the Three. This is the second novel, so this takes place right after The Gunslinger. This book is awesome. It starts off just right in the action, and then you just go like I was saying before. The Gunslinger is kind of like set dressing and like prologue. This is where the story begins. Like we got Roland, and he's gathering up his quartet. He's drawing the three into his world that he needs to progress to the tower, and it's just nonstop action, nonstop. Like this is the action movie portal fantasy of the series, and it is incredible. It is one of his most imaginative books. There's a couple scenes in here that I will never forget. It's a fantastic book. Number 2 is The Conclusion, The Dark Tower. This one is an emotional gut punch all the way through. It's long as hell, but oh my god, it just constantly causes you to... I mean, I cried probably 3 times during this novel. And the ending, I know a lot of people, it's very controversial. A lot of people don't like the ending. I loved the ending. I thought that it was perfect, that it couldn't have gone any other way, that everything that Stephen King had set up through this entire novel paid off beautifully. It was just a perfect ending to an amazing series. Number 1, you may have guessed, Wizard in Glass. I love this book so much. It is, at this point, I haven't read all of Stephen King's novels. I'm getting there, but this is my favorite Stephen King novel out of all time. It's so freaking good, and like the reason that I think this novel is like so good is it's got the Dark Tower stuff, right? It's like it's bookended by Dark Tower things, but the middle section, the main section of the novel, is backstory for Roland and Susan Delgado and what happens. Like it's all their story, right? But that story alone is so good. Like you could read just that chunk of this novel and have it be its own thing, and it's incredible. It's the best story. It's so good. Like it's romantic, but it's also like really, really violent and great. It's the most Western of all of the Dark Tower novels. Like it feels like an actual Western. So man, like I just love this novel so much. It's amazing. And like I said before when I was talking about the Wastelands, this book continues and resolves the conflict with Blaine the Mono at the end of the Wastelands. That kind of gets cut off. So this one resolves that in the beginning, which is great. There's also a tie-in to The Stand, which is awesome, and Randall Flagg. This is where we kind of start to see Randall Flagg and Martin and all of those people are kind of the same, and his influence on the Dark Tower and stuff. So that's really cool. There's a big reveal at the end that just it'll make you cry. I cried. Honorable mention here at the end. We went through the keyhole. This is technically a Dark Tower novel. It was written, I think 4 or 5 years after the conclusion of the series was done, and so it feels kind of tacked on. It's not necessary at all, in my opinion. And in fact, some people say to read this between Wizard and Glass and Wolves of Kala, because that's when it takes place in the narrative. But I disagree. I think that you should read this one on its own, like after probably you've already read the rest of the series. And it's good. It's great. It's another story within a story within a story. But yeah, it just wasn't as good, or even, like I said, it's not necessary. You don't need it. It's kind of an extra piece that if you're interested in knowing more about the Dark Tower, then maybe you should read it. But again, you don't have to. So that's Went Through the Keyhole. That's it. That's my list. you know, The Dark Tower is my favorite series. I love it so much, and I will continue to probably reread it 1,000 times during my life. Every year or so, I reread it. So I'm currently working on a reread right now. I just finished Song of Susanna, so I'm going to start The Dark Tower here pretty soon. But if you wanna keep talking Stephen King, if you wanna keep talking Dark Tower, please subscribe, like this video, and comment if you have thoughts or whatever. Tell me what you think. If you have a different list, I'm sure you probably do. Just let me know in the comments what you guys, what's your favorite Dark Tower novel. That's all I got. So stay safe out there, be kind to one another, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.